everyone, it's Jessica. Thank you for joining me on my channel today. So for today's project, I'm actually going to be making a one-page layout for this picture here. Now I do have a ton of pictures from this particular vacation that we took 2 years ago to Florida and Disney World. You can see I've got notes to keep myself organized as I've been working my way through our Disney trip. But on this particular page, I'm doing just the one 4x6 photo. And I did pull a couple of scraps here. So I've got this lagoon and white striped pattern from the Skylark collection, and then a black and white pattern from the current mix-in. And I think that those papers, even though they come from two different paper collections, are going to work well with this album that I've got going. I'll show you a couple of pages here. Now this is mostly using paper called Happiest Place, which was a collection that Close to My Heart offered a few years ago. I picked it up along with an 8.5 by 11 layout kit that they had from that paper collection because I knew we were going to be taking this trip and that eventually I'd need to scrapbook. Here on this double page layout, you can see I'd made this one myself, but using that paper collection. And then a lot of the pages, some of them do come from the 8.5 by 11 where I kind of expanded it into a 12 by 12. But a lot of them I just have made myself with those papers. I'm finding myself limited by that pack though. So what I've been doing is just looking for colors that coordinate so that way I can add even more pages. So here is the layout design that I am following from Page Maps for today's inspiration. And so like I said, I've got the lagoon color, glacier, some black, some white. Those are colors that are happening in that one paper pack that I'm working out of. And I'm finding it really helpful and easy just to go searching for the same color scheme in other paper collections. And that has really enabled me to kind of expand what it is that I'm working with. Now, as I'm following this layout here from Page Maps, and I always start with a white daisy, base page. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that's a lot of white. I'm trying to kind of play around here with, well, maybe do I want to matte that lagoon pattern paper on some black or just the photo because, wow, that's a lot right there. So I think I'm going to pull in a couple of different options. So I thought maybe something darker so it wasn't so white. This is charcoal here, the light side of charcoal, and I do like that. I did also pull a piece of black cardstock to try out as well, but I'm not sure. I think this is definitely a better option than the white, but maybe still a little bit too light. So let me try this black piece instead. And I had a feeling I wouldn't really like this because I'm like, that's really dark, but I'm going to try it just in case. And yeah, no, I don't like building this layout on the piece of black cardstock. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the charcoal instead. Now, just to help everything pop a little bit, I am taking some time to edge distress all of my pattern papers with some black ink. I am using a foam tool just to give it a softer touch. All right, I did decide actually to flip my cardstock over and go with the darker shade of charcoal instead because I think that's a good way to split the difference between that gray and the black. Now, one thing that I have done on quite a few of my other pages is to add some white splatters using this gloss spray from Dina Wakley. So again, since it's all going into the same album for the same vacation, I'm trying to repeat not only colors, but tricks that I do as well. This is a favorite trick of mine. I think it's a fun way just to add a little something extra to the background of the paper. Normally I do this in a splatter box, but I'm just trying to be very careful today because honestly I was too lazy to go looking for my splatter box. I'm just trying not to get it all over my desk. And since I've done that on a lot of the other pages, I think that this is yet another good way to keep it all looking the same. Now off camera, I did some stamping because I had to get my head right over things. I did use a retired alphabet set to stamp out a favorite, and I'm going to add on to that later. And then where my journaling lines are going to go. I've also used 2 thin cut sets, both of which are still available. I've got the layered flowers and then the border tab. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of see about using those as my embellishments for some different clusters here. So that page map did have a little tab like this kind of coming out of the top of where they had the photos. And so I'm bringing in that lemonade color because it is one of the featured colors in that Happiest Place paper pack. And so again, just looking to use the same colors, even though maybe I'm not using that actual Disney themed paper pack on this particular layout. And then I did cut some leaves from the layered flowers out of Lagoon cardstock. And then I've done yellow and white and glacier colored flowers. Again, all colors that I have been using on prior pages. So I spend a little bit of time kind of fussing with my flowers and my embellishment clusters here, and they don't look bad. They're okay, but what I realized that I don't like about it is that I don't really have flowers anywhere else in my scrapbook. So I went back to my Cricut and I looked. I had the Create a Critter cartridge, and I had 2 different dinosaurs on that cartridge. So I just cut 2 dinosaurs in the coordinating colors. And I think I'm going to kind of pull out a bunch of the flowers, and I'll keep some in, but I'm going to go with dinosaurs instead. I think that fits the theme of my other pages in this album a little bit better because it's just been really whimsical and lots of shapes and stars and circles rather than flowers. And so I don't want to go flower heavy on this particular layout because I don't think that that's going to really match with the overall vibe. So I do spend quite a bit of time kind of fussing with placement and, exactly what flowers do I want to use? Am I going to use any? But I thought that the dinosaurs were a fun way to kind of bring in that like whimsical childhood touch, because this is a picture of my 3 kids standing outside of the entrance to Dino Land at the Animal Kingdom. So I'll go ahead and start gluing everything down because I'm pretty happy with the basic placement of what I've got going here. So this was a really fun trip, and honestly, we as a family of 5 had never gone on vacation before with just the 5 of us. We've always done things with, extended family and grandparents and really just kind of camping actually in the state of Michigan. Like we haven't really taken the family anywhere out of state or done anything, like I said, with just the 5 of us until this trip. And so it was really fun. And this particular day was probably the kids' favorite day. They loved in the Dino Land section, the dinosaur ride. That was a favorite for sure, that especially my oldest daughter talked about nonstop. And so I thought this was such a cute photo that it was worth kind of having its own page in this layout, or I'm sorry, in the scrapbook of our trip. So I am going to cheat that little frame a little bit because once I cut it, I didn't want to have to go cut a second one in order to make that work. So I just kind of used the pieces that I had to extend that and hide what was underneath the photo. Now, I wish I would have remembered this before gluing everything down, because in that page maps layout, it does have some twine or string kind of wrapped around the top of that journaling section, and it would have been a lot easier to do that before gluing it down. But luckily, I didn't have that third embellishment cluster glued just yet, so it was easy to kind of pull that out of the way. And then I just sort of shimmied some of that twine underneath there until I was able to get that part settled. So that's why I had all of that white space up at the top there above my journaling, so that I could do that black twine. And then I'll just sneak a little bit of liquid glue behind here just to glue it back down after where I've been fussing with it. So I have all the things glued down now, but I don't like this little empty space above my bottom dinosaur. So I don't like the look of the flower tucked underneath of him. So I think maybe I will just pop a flower up on top and just overlap just slightly. And I will put a little bit of thin 3D foam tape underneath there, since that dinosaur actually has quite a bit of dimension. By the time I cut all of the layers on my Cricut and then glued them together, he's a couple of pieces of cardstock thick. So here you can see where I just bring in a little bit of that thin 3D foam just to make sure that my flower sits nicely. And then I decide against using any leaves in that particular flower because I felt like there was already a lot of that lagoon color happening down there. Okay, so I went digging through my embellishment stash and I found the black and white dots, enamel dots, and I'm going to use the black ones. I only have a couple left. I actually have only 3 left, and that's how many I need, and only in the big size. So that's the size I'm going to have to use. And I'm going to put them in as the centers of my flowers. And I think that that's pretty much going to be it. So like I said, as I've been working on this particular vacation album, I really have found it quick to move through it because either I use just the one paper collection, which is that Disney themed one from a couple of years ago, or I just pull papers that have the same colors of that paper collection. And then I'm trying to use very similar embellishments. So lots of circles and, the white splatters just to keep things consistent and cohesive. And that has made it really fast and easy to work on this layout and this album. And then also just to kind of keep it all looking the same. So those are my tips. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Happy crafting. See you next time. Bye.